than relying solely on recruitment to address skills gaps.
The traditional job description is fading, and rightly so. In its place is a more flexible model of work defined by skills rather than titles. For years, we built talent architectures around roles, fixed, hierarchical, and slow to evolve. That approach no longer matches the pace of change. In technological intensive industries, the half-life of a skill is now less than 5 years. In some AI adjacent fields, it is closer to 18 months. Organizations cannot hire their way out of that reality. They must build capability continuously, because by the time recruitment catches up, the skills may already have evolved again. Now there's the talent marketplace mindset. This is a logic behind a model that ensures that HR significantly shifts into modern HR thinking. So instead of moving people through rigid job descriptions, a talent work marketplace matches skills to opportunities dynamically. In doing so, it surfaces internal talent that organizations often overlook when they search by title rather than capability. Now, what future skills do we need? We've talked about technology, and critical is data literacy, AI fluency, and digital agility. These are now essential across sectors, from banking and technology to agriculture.
You have the Chief Human Resources Officer of MTN Ghana, Esi Emerba Wilson. Now, the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Florence Hatchford, has called on human resource professionals to strengthen their capacity to address emerging workplace challenges resulting from rapid technological advancement. Speaking at the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management Conference 2026, Mrs. Hatchford said the growing application of technology in the workplace presents both opportunities and challenges for the HR profession. She noted that the increasing adoption of artificial intelligence in human resource management is transforming work processes and reshaping organizational structures and workplace cultures. According to her, reports of organizations reducing workforce numbers due to efficiencies created by AI underscores the significant impact of technology on employees and businesses.
The theme for this year's conference addresses some of the most pressing issues facing the HR profession today. The rapid changes in technology and its growing application in the workplace present both significant opportunities and challenges. One notable example is the widespread adoption of AI in HR work, transforming work routines and reshaping organizational structures and cultures. Reports of organizations downsizing their workforce as a result of AI efficiencies highlight the profound people implications of this new era of our time. Competitive salaries are no longer enough, as today's workforce places a high value on work-life balance, personal development, employee well-being, and total employee experience. Consequently, HR professionals must develop people-centered, flexible systems and policies that align organizational goals and strategies with continuously shifting workforce expectations in order to attract and retain talent. This raises an important question. How prepared are we as HR professionals to address and manage these emerging challenges?
That was the president of the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Florence Hatchford. Moving on, Nigeria is reaffirming its commitment to accelerating export-led growth under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The government says businesses can now access a $1 billion AFCFTA Adjustment Fund credit facility designed to boost production, competitiveness, and inter-African trade. The facility targets African companies with a minimum financing capacity of $10 million a year. Speaking on CNBC Africa, Chief Executive of 3T Impact Consulting, Bamidele Ayemibo, explained that the initiative is not new. He said it's begun before the current African Development Bank leadership and is a joint effort between the AFCFTA Secretariat in Ghana and Afrexim Bank. Ayemibo noted that the fund was created to help businesses adjust to the demands of the free trade area. He said companies will need to upgrade production facilities, improve product quality, and expand distribution to remain competitive.
It is not new, actually. Maybe it's being reported in the news because the minister mentioned it. It started way before even the new leader of the African Development Bank came into office. It's called the AFCFTA Adjustment Fund Credit Facility. It's actually a joint effort of the AFCFTA Secretariat in Ghana and the Afrexim Bank that put this fund together. The idea is, look, if we are going to be able to adjust to what is going on under AFCFTA, we need a way to support our businesses because of the impact and the implication of what AFCFTA is going to do to them. So they believe there is need for increase. There will be, of course, increased competition. So need to upgrade production facility, improve product quality, expand distribution. But more importantly, even for government, in fact, one of the ideas also is to support government who are now going to earn less revenue because of the AFCFTA. As a result of this, they put this fund together. Now, the fund has three parts to it, actually. The fund basically is supposed to have, it has what they call the base fund. It has what they call the credit facility, and then the concessional fund. Now, the base fund basically is to help the government of Africa, to be able to support them in augmenting the losses they will have incurred from tariff revenue. It's primarily used for technical assistance. Then we have the credit facility, which will involve commercial loan, on lending, guarantees, and credit line for businesses. And then, of course, the concessional fund, which combines the element of both to be able to support business. So, but the idea around the fund basically is to help businesses adjust to the reality that we are facing under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
That was the Chief Executive of 3T Impact Consulting, Bamidele Ayemibo. Moving on, Deputy Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Rita Na Odule Soa, has engaged the Welfare Officer of Ayawasu West Wuogon on the disbursement of funds earmarked for persons with disabilities. The engagement highlighted both the progress and challenges facing the Assembly as it works to support vulnerable groups and deliver development projects in the area. Speaking during the engagement, she disclosed how resources allocated to support PWDs within the constituency are being distributed. The Deputy Minister emphasized the importance of ensuring that the funds reach beneficiaries effectively. Meanwhile, Ayawasu West Wuogon Municipal Chief Executive Dr. Michael Mensah says the Assembly's inability to execute some planned development projects is largely due to the lack of available land. According to him, the challenge has affected the implementation of key projects within the municipality, slowing down efforts to improve infrastructure and services for residents.
I must say that some of the projects delayed because getting has been a problem. A classical example has to do with the OIC. We are providing them with a clinic, and it's been back and forth. In the sense that they have an old board that resisted us, and we had to bring in the Minister for Education to settle this. And this was settled just about 2 months ago. So after it was settled, the Minister said we can move in and then continue the project. They actually started, but they stopped the project. So we moved in, and they came back again and stopped the project. So we had to go back again and negotiate with them for the project to start. So it's one of the reasons why our projects delayed.
And that was the Ayawasu West Wuogon Municipal Chief Executive, Dr. Michael Mensah there. In more news, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Gavins Kwame Abuja, has expressed concern over the increasing theft and vandalism of traffic light infrastructure across the country. Addressing Parliament, the minister disclosed that traffic light components continue to be stolen from various locations, including an installation situated in front of the police headquarters. According to him, the destruction and theft of key components are among the major reasons many traffic lights become non-functional. He explained that vandals often remove metal parts from traffic signal chambers and sell them as scrap, resulting in costly repairs. Mr. Abuja also cited damage caused by reckless drivers who collide with traffic light posts and fail to report the incident. He noted that Ghana has about 415 traffic light installations, with more than 60% currently operational despite the challenges.
We have about 415 traffic lights across the country. About over 60% are working. Many times when you see the traffic lights not working, it is on many occasions deliberate, where people go and vandalize the chambers. Some people actually vandalize the chambers and take the metal components and sell them as scrap metals. And then sometimes vehicles drive into them and then run away, and the value of the vehicles are less than sometimes the value of the things they've damaged. And this is widespread, and then we are appealing to the public to report any such vandalism to us. The irony is that even the one, there was one in front of the police headquarters, was also stolen.
Governs Kwame Abuja is the Minister for Roads and Highways. Now to our last story for the bulletin. Health Minister Kwabena Minta Akando says the government is making steady progress in the implementation of its free primary health care program through the deployment of equipment, logistics and public sensitization efforts across the country. Speaking to the media, the minister explained that health workers and communities are being educated on the program, while essential equipment is being distributed to support service delivery. He noted that the health sector faced significant equipment shortages, making it necessary to strengthen logistics before the full rollout of the initiative. As part of the process, the ministry is supplying motorbikes and tricycles to health workers to improve outreach services, particularly for house-to-house healthcare delivery. Mr. Akando also disclosed that about 200 health kiosks have been procured and are being installed in densely populated areas to improve access to primary healthcare services.
So we have launched, as part of the implementation process, we are doing sensitization of health workers, of ordinary Ghanaians about it. As part of implementation, we are doing deployment of equipment. You don't just announce policies and ministers have announced it, you are just implementing. Where is the equipment? I came to meet a very poor status of equipment, health equipment in our sector. Okay, so before you call people to come or people should assess, you should make sure that they have the various logistics. So for example, we are buying motorbikes and tricycles. You remember it was topical and on social media that we're giving tricycles for ambulance. That was not the case. These are some of the logistics we are giving to health workers who will be moving from house to house to be able to perform their duties. So it is being rolled out. I've had the opportunity to go to OT region, and all the districts in OT have directed that they should be rolled on in the first phase. So we are on. In some cases, we have to even do advance payment. And there are two ways of financing the free primary health care. Although it is free to you, Kemeni, but it's not free to the state. We are taking delivery of about, our target is 300, but we have taken delivery of about 200 for now. And they are mounting the kiosks at various districts. But you see, the kiosks are for specific places. It's for mobile population, so market areas, mosque, churches, I mean, high density areas, so that if somebody is at the lorry park and he thinks that he doesn't feel well, he can go there. When it is above the person or the health professional in charge, they will use a telemedicine concept to seek guidance from a medical doctor, from a district hospital, or from a referral center and all that. So these facilities are being built at one point or the other. And I carried all your colleagues in the media to go and see for themselves how much we have and how many we have procured. And so it's now, we are rolling it out on,
That was the Minister for Health, Kwabena Minta Akando, ending News at 6. And this is where we end the news at 6. But before I leave, let's take a recap of our top stories. Human resource leaders urged to build internal skills for AI transformation. Also, Deputy Minister engages Ayawaso West Wogon on PWD funds. And Health Ministry intensifies rollout of free primary health care program. We came your way with these stories and many others from our studio here at number 6, Anite Avenue, East Legon, Accra. For more news, you can log on to www.zedmultimedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and on TikTok and YouTube at Z Multimedia. Thank you for listening. I am Mami Ifua Kwechua. Do enjoy the rest of our shows. Up next is the Business Breakfast Show with me, Treppy Hammond. Good morning.
You're tuned in to Zed 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
As you begin this new day, remember that rest is not a reward for finishing everything. It is a necessity for doing anything well. In a world that celebrates busyness, it takes wisdom to understand that constantly running is not the same as making progress. Many people feel guilty when they slow down. They think they must always be productive, always available, always chasing the next goal. But even the strongest machines need downtime, and we are far more than machines. Rest is where your mind clears, your creativity returns, and your strength is renewed. Some of your best ideas, decisions, and breakthroughs will come not while you are rushing, but while you are resting. So today, give yourself permission to pause when needed. Take a breath, step away from the noise for a moment, protect your peace as intentionally as you pursue your ambitions. And remember that exhaustion is not a badge of honor. A well-rested person often accomplishes more than a tired person who never stops. Rest does not take away from your success, it helps sustain it. Be kind to yourself today, my friend. Work hard, give your best, but also make room for rest. Your mind, your body, and your spirit will thank you for it. Good morning.
Thank thee for thy love so pure and so free, O Lord. We thank thee.
It's your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Good morning, Ghana. It's Thursday, the 11th of June, 2026. Just like that, we are almost halfway through the month. June is moving quietly, but it's moving. The days are passing, the targets are waiting, and the year is asking all of us the same question. How are we doing so far? Well, this is the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Ni Trebi Hammond. Thursday is an interesting day. It's close enough to Friday to see the weekend, but far enough to know there's still work to be done. So whether you're in traffic, opening your shop, heading to a meeting, simply gathering your thoughts for the day, thank you very much for spending part of your morning with us. As always, we'll bring you the stories shaping the economy, the business community, and the decisions that affect our daily lives. And we're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please do well to like, comment, follow, and share with your family and friends and get them to be a part of the show this morning. It's Thursday. Let's stay focused, let's stay informed, and let's move, as always, for God and country. It didn't affect them because they had prayed. And I was like, okay, this is actually brilliant. Looking at what happened, it appears that that is what the spiritual realm really looks like. If you don't pray and ask for protection, you are not protected. If you don't pray and ask for any guidance, you are not guided. If you don't ask for direction, you don't have any direction. You are not given any direction. And so it's very important that every morning you pray, ask God to protect you, give you your daily bread, and everything that you think you have to ask Him. Please do that. It is very, very important. No matter how you think your prayers are too normal and they are common, they are not very deep or anything, it actually does some work for you. And so this morning, as you go about your day, please pause and say thank you to Jesus, and also pray, ask for His protection, His guidance, His direction, His leadership as you do all the things that that you plan to do today. All right, so that's my word for you this morning. Let's get into all the things that we have for you this morning. We have our news review coming up very soon, and then at exactly 7 o'clock we bring you the business news. We take you into the world of business. At 7:30 I come away with a business brief segment where I get to share something briefly with you in line with our roundtable discussion. And then right after that we get into market trends. Emmanuel Boateng, our in-house economic analyst, will be joining us right here on the show, and we'll talk about some market issues, very, very important. And then we wrap everything up with a roundtable discussion. And today we're asking a very important question: whether professionals are, exchanging their well-being for the success that they wish to see. What exactly is happening? Because we are recording high numbers of stress, depression, and all of those things. And so I'll be joined by a psychologist and a mental health advocate. These two individuals will join me, and then we'll have a very important conversation this morning right here on the show. And so please don't go anywhere. If you want to learn a lot more about some of these things, please stick and stay, and also engage us on our social media platforms. Share the link with your family and friends and get them to be a part of the show this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. We'd love to hear from you, so drop a comment there. Also, you can send us a WhatsApp on 0544-321019, 0544-321019, and we'll read your messages for you. You can also call us on 0303956641 when we open the phone lines, 0303956641, and then we give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning right here on the Business Breakfast on Z 101.9 FM. All right, let's get into all we have to do. And of course, it's Thursday, and so it's a throwback Thursday. Give you some of your old school music, just so that you can be able to make the most of this Thursday. All right, so please don't go anywhere, stick and stay. Let's get into our news review segment right away. All right, thank you very much. Let's look at some of the stories that are making waves this morning, and then we try to break some of them down. And this morning we are beginning with myjoyonline.com. Let's start here. Now, top story here says the Ghana International Bank CEO sacked, and new CEO named. That's the top story on myjoyonline.com. Also, we may not have the stars, but we have the spirit. Kofi Adams predicts strong Black Stars run. And also, success is built on discipline and not talent. And that is coming from Ace and Kuma on becoming Infante Pim's best students from weakest class. All right, so that is that. Also, this one says 1,000 will follow Black Stars. Will follow the Black Stars. Sports Minister sees diaspora power driving Ghana. And also, this one says that Forestry Commission staff attacked as mob bent timber checkpoint facility in Bono East. Also, smacking children could lead to lower GCSE grades. Study suggests that. Also, this one says that missing newborn at Salaga Hospital. Police question staff as regional team launches probe. Also, oil rises more than $1 as escalation in the U.S. Iran strikes an traders. Also, from UN intern to refugee chief, Ghana's Edem Wasonu lands top global protection role. Also, the Ga question we prefer not to ask. Okay, I think that's a feature or that's an opinion piece there. All right, this one says that World Cup expected to be the biggest betting event in history. All right, so that is that as well. Now, ctnewsroom.com here, the top story says that free SHS suppliers to picket at Education Ministry over 50 million Ghana cedis debt. Also, Afari and Sewa delays caused by inherited ICU economy. Now, one says that also 2026 World Cup, one of the most complicated World Cups ever. Godfred Akoto Wafo says that also Forestry Commission condemns mob attack on timber market, on timber checkpoints near Kintampo. Also, U.S. Ghana reaffirm commitment to fight crime and terrorism. Also, this one says that minority demands anti-flood task force report in Parliament, and squatters and armed encroachers stalling food control projects. J. Mensa Kosa says that, and also Accra Flat 70 seized excavators to be deployed to NADMO for desilting, and that is coming from Muntaka. Also, this one says the Garrett is only technical solution to Accra floods, and that is coming from J. Mensa Kosa. All right, so these are some of the stories making waves on ctnewsroom.com this morning. Let's move on to channel1newsonline.com. This one says that Ernest Kranting tips Brazil for strong 2026 World Cup campaign. Also, Mohammed's 808 presidential staff not excessive. Beatrice Anand says that, and also flooding. I blame government squarely for the devastation. J. Mensa Kosa says that as well. Now, NLE workers threatening strike over welfare and operational challenges. That's another story here. Now, MC says that I did not block minority MPs from accessing Afari Hospital. And so that is also there. Now, MP questions Mama. It says that what is preventing you from operationalizing Trade Day Hospital? And that's also another story. Now, court strikes out Ninayin Senior High School assault case and urges reconciliation. Also, GWL Ghana Water Limited restores water supply to Kumasi after Barikese pipeline repairs. And so that's another one. Now, Ghana's economy grows 6.4% in first quarter. And also public vigilance helping protect road infrastructure. And that is coming from the minister. All right, so these are some of the stories also making waves on channel1newsonline.com. Let's move on to graphiconline.com. Now, some stories here. Now, Ghana Women and Youth Employment and Social Cohesion Program aimed at creating over 30,000 jobs launched. Now, Digital Client Service Access Unit inaugurated at Volta Regional Office of Lands Commission. And also this one says a critical thinking crucial for medical education, and that's coming from Professor Ewuku. Also, social welfare to PWDs. He says that utilize livelihood support items wisely or face blacklisting and prosecution. And so that is there. Also, rainstorms from Nigeria and Benin expected to trigger thunderstorms across Ghana, and that is coming from GMET as the one. Also, Asing Edubiase Methodist Basic School marks 120 years of educational excellence. Also, West Africa must build its own cyber talent to protect digital sovereignty, and that is coming from Sam George. Also, RegSec maps out flood high-risk communities in Accra where residents are to remain vigilant and comply with safety directives. And also, President Mahama's approval rating drops to 58.9%, but 73.5% of supporters still credit his handling of economy. All right, so that's also another story on graphiconline.com. Let's look at some more stories on the local front. Now, here on the High Street Journal, after extradition, the legal questions that continue to surround Sedi Natamaklo Atiunuskis, and also economic gains and road projects sustain Mahama's approval as public confidence softens. Also, sleep can wait. Africa turns World Cup 2026 into a commercial power play, and so that is there. A Russian Film Festival opens new chapter in Ghana's cultural diplomacy, and that's also on the High Street Journal. Let's look at some more stories here. Now, this one says that our entrepreneurship education is shaping career choices. Okay, I think that's an opinion piece there. But also, this one says consultant urges centralized digital infrastructure and agricultural focus for proposed rural bank. Also, shares of Casapreco to be listed on June 15, and also Centaur refining local crude, a welcome move, but potential benefits to Ghanaians limited. Also, should government decide to renew gold field leads, it must be on better and improved fiscal terms, and that's coming from Dr. Donko. Let's move on to the BNFTonline.com. Economy grew 6.4% in Q1 of 2026, and also Conrad proposes quota system as alternative to rubber export ban, and also NLA Director General calls for joint fight against illegal gambling, and so that is there as well. Now, Minds Chamber bullish on 2026 gold outlook, and budget transparency rating plummets 22% in 2025 global survey. All right, so these are some of the stories. Now let's move to the international front. On BBC, US and Iran exchange strikes across Middle East for second day in a row. Also, Trump says he loves the inflation as US prices rise at fastest rate in 3 years. And also, thousands march in Pakistan administered Kashmir as clashes kill at least 15. Also, an Everest guide's miraculous survival raises questions for tourism industry. Now, Canada proposes teen social media ban with workaround for tech firms. And also, Knicks fans go wild as New York team makes biggest comeback in NBA Finals history. And also, water cannon fired in latest disorder after Belfast knife attack. All right, so these are some of the stories there. Okay, some more stories here. This one says that a U.S. official claims banned referee had links with terror organizations. All right, that's also there. Now, with no team in World Cup, China fans rally around a red card. Happy referee. And also VAR and time wasting and subs. World Cup law changes explained. All right, so those are some of the stories there. Now, let's move on to the BBC Africa. Now, manhunt underway in South Africa after 12 killed in mass shooting in Johannesburg. Also, World Cup referee. Okay, I think this is quite old. Now, let's look at this one. It says, okay, all right, all the stories here. Let's move on to Reuters. Now, on Reuters, U.S. and Iran trade attacks, for a second day, undermining shaky ceasefire. And also, Trump says that I love the inflation. He says that as prices rise amid Iran war. Also, oil rises more than $1 as escalation in U.S.-Iran strikes unearth traders. Also, U.S. strikes Iran again, and Tehran launches attacks across region as it happened. All right, so these are some of the stories there. Also, North Korea and China claim wins from Xi visit, but limits remain. And also, Taiwan says its sovereignty cannot be violated as China ends Coast Guard patrol. Also, Albania protests swell as opposition to Kushner resort persists. And also, party poopers Knicks owner slammed Mamdani and NYPD as NBA Finals bring drama. And also, knife attack victims' family calls for calm after anti-immigrant violence in Belfast. Also, shares retreat as techs extend losses and U.S. strikes on Iran lift oil. Also, dollar waivers as investors ponder rate outlook and Middle East worries. Now, gold rebounds from 6th-month low, inflation data in focus. On Reuters Africa, 2 babies from Congo orphanage die of Ebola, highlighting high risk to children. Very unfortunate incident there. Now, this one says that 12 killed and 9 injured in Johannesburg shooting, South Africa police say. Well, this one also says that East African ministers to unveil budgets amid Iran cost shocks and death strains. Also, UNHCR says fewer people displaced worldwide in 2025, but long-term refugee crisis persists. And Congo's Ebola outbreak spreads to new health zone. Also, U.S. doctor isolated in Czech Republic for Ebola monitoring released and heading home. Also, Uganda's national airline agrees to buy 10 new Boeing aircrafts. Also, gunmen killed 3 people in Nigeria school attack. And also, U.S. announces additional $20 million for Ebola response. And those are some of the stories there. So let's look at the CNBC Africa now. On CNBC Africa, oil prices. Okay, let me look at it again. It says that East African ministers to unveil budgets amid Iran cost shocks and debt strains. Also, South Africa's central bank sees financial system staying resilient despite Iran war. Also, Standard Chartered Bank says reforms win back investors to Africa. And U.S. announces additional $20 million for Ebola responses. And also, East African ministers to unveil budgets amid Iran cost shocks and debt strain. Also, South African central bank sees financial systems stay resilient. Okay, I already read this one down. This one says that Africa's power market is learning to share, and also Ghana's economic growth picks up to 6.4% in first quarter. And also Zambia gets near unanimous backing for landmark debt for energy deal. And also Trump says Iran will pay the price and claims they have taken too long to agree to a deal. Now, Novo Nordisk faces off in court with South African weight loss drug compounder. And also the rules of power are changing in Africa. Also, Senegal's Federation explains viral airport security footage ahead of World Cup. Now, South African rand steady with Iran war and U.S. inflation data in focus. Also, South Africa's power profit slumps and debt rises as trading pressures mount. Now, Congo says number of confirmed Ebola cases rises to nearly 600, and these are some of the stories making waves. So let's look at the Bloomberg.com finally. Now, U.S. strikes in Iran in Trump escalation over stalled peace talks. Also, global stocks hit 1 month low and oil gains on Iran. Ship traffic things in Gulf as U.S.-Iran tensions intensify. And also Thailand sentences 2 guys to death for deadly 2015 blast. Also China presses Taiwan for querying foreign ships for first time. And also this one says that UK venture plans Europe's largest plant for capturing CO2 from air. All right, so those are some of the stories making waves across the various portals that we have checked this morning. Let's go back to look at some of the stories here. Now, very interesting one. This one says that success is built on discipline and not talent. Ace Ankoma says that. Let's look at that story. Very, very important. It says that when lawyer Ace Ankoma stood before the graduating class of 2026 at SOS Herman Maina International College, he did not begin with his accomplishments in law, public service, or corporate governance. Instead, he took his audience back 40 years to a struggling secondary school student who had little reasons to believe success lay ahead. That student, he revealed, was himself, delivering the commencement's address on the theme Shaping Ethical Leaders for an AI-driven Future, a Pan-African Responsibility. Ace Ankoma blended reflections on artificial intelligence with a deeply personal account of failure, resilience, and self-discipline, urging graduates to recognize that character and hard work remain more important than talent alone. Now, for many in the audience, the most compelling lesson came not from his warnings about technology, but from remarkable transformation he described from an academically weak student to the best A-level graduate at Infantipim School. Says that I would have voted for myself. Ace Ankoma recounted that during most of his first 5 years at Infantipim, he drifted through school without direction, and his academic performance deteriorated to the point where he was assigned to Form 4G2, a class reserved for the weakest students academically. Now, to compound his difficulties, he was also a stammerer, a challenge he says he still lives with today, and the experience forced him to confront an uncomfortable reality. He described that period as a turning point when he realized he was failing, and that unless he changed course dramatically, his future prospects would be bleak. Rather than resign himself to failure, he decided to rebuild himself through reading and disciplined study. And according to Ace Ankoma, his transformation began with a simple principle that continues to guide him today. You only know what you study, and you cannot study what you do not read. Wow. says that you only know what you study. You only know what you study, and you cannot study what you do not read. Wow. That discovery led him to immerse himself in books, and he said he read relentlessly to make up for lost time, eventually securing admission into sixth form by what he described as the narrowest of margins. His study habits became even more rigorous afterwards. When his father bought him most of the prescribed texts for sixth form, Asan Kuma said he devoured them repeatedly until he made another important discovery, that if he read something 10 times, he was unlikely to forget it. So 10 times I read, he said. Wow. So this day, he advises law students to read every text at least 10 times, arguing that many students blame a lack of time when the real obstacles are often distraction, laziness, and excessive sleep. And he also developed a discipline system for preparing for examination by organizing past questions according to topics and using them to guide his studies. All right. So the story continues. Yes, but of course we can't read everything. So that's that. I think very good nuggets. I'm going to sit on this particular story and read it again so that I can, apply some of the things to my life. I have two quotes in here that that struck me very much. It says that one of them says that if I read something 10 times, I was unlikely to forget it. So 10 times I read. Wow. So, of course, it's always good to learn from people that have gone ahead of you. And I try to do that a lot of the times. And so this is something that I'm also going to apply. I'm going to do 10 times so that I can also be unlikely to forget. Yes. And I hope that you also learn that and apply that to your life. So that's it. Let's look at maybe one final story, and then we can go. Now, here, I'm trying to look at this particular story. Okay, so Ghana's economy grew 6.4% in first quarter. That's it here. Now it says Ghana's economy expanded by 6.4% in the first quarter of 2026, according to the latest data released by the Ghana Statistical Service. And this represents a slight increase from 6.2% recorded in the corresponding period of 2025, pointing to continued resilience in economic activity. Presenting a breakdown of the figures, government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu said the services sector remained the dominant driver of growth during the period. All right, so the story goes on and on as well. Yeah, but that is that we good to. It's good to see this growth numbers. We'll discuss that on our market trend segment this morning. So please don't go anywhere. Stick and stay. But that will be all for our news review segment. We're going to get into our business news right away. Please stay tuned.
Performance, and African Development Bank pegs Ghana's unemployment at 13.1%, inequality at 43.5%. I am Mami Efwa Kwejua. We will bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly, to stay with us. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Bank of Ghana has absorbed 17.24 billion Ghana cedis from the banking system through the sale of 14-day bills, signaling its determination to keep liquidity conditions tight. According to notice number 865, the June 8 auction attracted allotment of 17.24 billion Ghana cedis, with base rates ranging between 10.46 and 10.95%. The weighted average interest rate settled at 10.98%, reflecting short-term liquidity conditions in the money market. Officials say the operation is one of the central bank's largest recent liquidity management exercise. It highlights BOG's active use of open market instruments to absorb surplus cash from the banking sector, while preserving gains in inflation moderation, exchange rate stability, and broader economic recovery. Unlike Treasury bills, Bank of Ghana bills are designed mainly as monetary policy tools rather than for government financing. By reducing excess funds in circulation, the central bank aims to contain inflationary pressures, curb speculative demand for foreign exchange, and keep short-term interest rates aligned with policy objectives. Moving on, Ghana's economy recorded a growth rate of 6.4% in the first quarter of 2026, according to the latest gross domestic product estimate released by the Ghana Statistical Service. The figure represents an improvement over the 6.2% growth recorded during the same period last year, signaling continued economic recovery and resilience. The services sector led the expansion with a growth rate of 7.1%, driven largely by strong performances in information and communication, transport and storage, as well as trade and repair of vehicles. The industry sector also posted robust growth of 6.9%, supported by increased activity in mining, quarrying, and oil and gas production. Agriculture grew by 4%, despite a sharp decline in the fishing subsector. The latest data points to sustained economic momentum and increasing diversification of Ghana's growth drivers. The Ghana Statistical Service says it is on course to introduce rebased gross domestic product and consumer price index figures by the middle of 2027, a move expected to provide a more accurate picture of the country's economic performance and changing consumption patterns. Government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu disclosed this when he appeared before Parliament's Economic and Development Committee. He explained that the timeline remains achievable provided the Ministry of Finance releases the required funds on schedule to support the remaining phases of its exercise. According to Dr. Idrisu, the rebasing exercise is critical because it will ensure that key economic indicators reflect current realities and provide policymakers, investors, and businesses with more relevant data for decision making. He noted that significant groundwork has already been completed, including fresh data collection and the completion of the Ghana Living Standards Survey 8, which will form the basis for the updated GDP and inflation calculations. The current inflation basket is largely based on data from the Ghana Living Standards Survey 7 conducted in 2017. The new data is expected to capture changes in household spending habits and the structure of the economy over the past decade. Economists believe the rebasing exercise could significantly alter Ghana's GDP estimates and inflation figures. A similar exercise conducted in 2010 increased Ghana's GDP by more than 60% and contributed to the country's reclassification as a lower middle income economy. The GSS says the updated figures will help improve economic planning, policy formulation and investment decisions while strengthening confidence in Ghana's statistical system. Moving on, the African Development Bank has revised Ghana's economic growth forecast downward to 5% for 2026, citing a widening investment financing gap as a key challenge to the country's long-term development agenda. According to the African Economic Outlook 2026 report, growth is expected to increase slightly to 5.4% in 2027, but remains below the projected 5.8% expansion for 2025. The report indicates that Ghana continues to benefit from improving investor confidence, stronger consumer spending, and ongoing growth in the services sector. However, it warns that an investment financing gap estimated at about 9% of gross domestic product could slow progress in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and job creation. The bank is urging Ghana to accelerate reforms, attract private investment, and strengthen revenue mobilization to sustain economic growth. Let's stay a bit longer with the African Development Bank because it has estimated Ghana's unemployment rate at 13.1% and inequality at 43.5%, highlighting persistent challenges to inclusive economic growth despite recent improvement in the country's macroeconomic performance. In its Economic Outlook 2026 report, the bank noted that unemployment and inequality remain elevated, suggesting that the benefits of economic growth are not being shared evenly across the population. According to the report, unemployment continues to disproportionately affect women and young people. The bank estimated unemployment among women at 14.8%, while youth unemployment remains significantly higher at 32%. The report observed that although pro-poor spending was constrained in 2024 due to financing shortfalls, the 2025 and 2026 budget have sought to promote more inclusive growth through increased allocations to social development programs, particularly in education, health, and human capital development. Despite these challenges, the bank maintained a positive outlook for Ghana's economy over the medium term. It's projected that inflation would decline to single-digit levels, supported by exchange rate stability and continued policy discipline. The bank also forecast that Ghana's fiscal deficit would remain within target at 2.6% of gross domestic product in 2026 and 2.2% in 2025, aided by fiscal consolidation measures and ongoing debt restructuring efforts. Additionally, the current account balance is expected to remain in surplus at about 3%, reflecting continued improvement in the country's external position. In more news, the Public Procurement Authority has issued a final warning to public institutions still flouting mandatory transparency rules under the Public Procurement Act. The directive signals tougher enforcement in the management of state contracts. A compliance review of the Ghana electronic procurement system revealed that several entities had failed to publish procurement plans and contract award details as required by law. The PP says continued non-compliance could lead to public naming, sanctions and restrictions on single source and restricted tendering approvals. Officials stress that failure to comply undermines transparency, weakens competitive tendering, and limits public oversight of state spending. The authority reminded heads of procurement entities that responsibility rests directly with them under the Section 18 of the Act. The warning comes amid growing scrutiny of public procurement governance, long associated with sole sourcing and concerns over value for money. The PPA says the platform was introduced to digitize procurement process, improve transparency, and create an auditable trail of government contracts. Now, Casapreco PLC's initial public offering has attracted strong investor interest, with total bids reaching approximately 1.72 billion Ghana cedis, more than double the company's target of 700 million Ghana cedis. The beverage manufacturer recorded a subscription rate of about 246%, making the offer one of the most successful public offerings in Ghana's recent capital market history. The company sought to raise 700 million Ghana cedis through the issuance of 583.3 million ordinary shares at 1 cedi 20 pesos per share. Proceeds from the offer are expected to support the company's expansion plans, including the construction of a new production facility for bottled water and carbonated soft drinks. The IPO attracted more than 360 pension funds and institutional investors, as well as over 30,000 individual investors, reflecting growing confidence in indigenous Ghanaian businesses and renewed interest in equity investment. Market analysts attribute the strong response to Casapreco's established brand portfolio, consistent growth, expanding export market, and attractive valuation. Due to the significant oversubscription, the company's board allotted shares to qualified applicants on a pro rata basis. Trading in Casapreco PLC shares on the Ghana Stock Exchange market is expected to begin on June 15, 2026, under the ticket symbol CASA. Now to our final story for the bulletin. Government is calling for the expansion of the West African gas pipeline and other cross-border gas infrastructure projects to strengthen regional energy integration, improve energy security and boost economic growth across West Africa. Speaking at the opening of the West African Gas Summit 2026 in Accra, the Deputy Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Richard John Mensah, said the success of the West African gas pipeline demonstrates the benefits of regional cooperation, but added that more investment is needed to fully tap into the region's gas potential. He explained that stronger interconnection and cross-border gas trade will make energy market more resilient and more attractive to investors. Mr. John Mensah noted that natural gas remains a key driver of industrialization, job creation, and improved living standards across the sub-region. He revealed that domestic gas fields currently supply about 80% of natural gas used for power generation and industrial activities in Ghana, helping to reduce electricity costs and strengthen energy security. He cautioned that any disruption in gas supply often forces a switch to more expensive liquid fuels, increasing the cost of power generation and putting pressure on the economy. The Deputy Minister also called for greater private sector involvement in financing gas infrastructure, stressing that government alone cannot meet the huge investment needs of the sector. This is where we end the business news, but before I go, let's take a recap of our top stories. Bank of Ghana absorbs 17.24 billion Ghana cedis to tighten liquidity. Also, Ghana economy expands by 6.4% in strong first quarter performance. And African Development Bank pegs Ghana's unemployment at 13.1%, inequality at 43.5%. We came your way with these stories and many others from our studio here at number 6, Anyete Avenue, East Legon, Accra. For more news, you can log on to www.zmultimedia.com, or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at ZFMGH, and on TikTok and YouTube at ZMultimedia. Thank you for listening. I am Mami Ifwa Kwejua. Nitrebi continues with the BBC.
Zed 1.
brief segment this morning. And today I want to begin with a question. Yes. What does success look like? What does success look like? Now, for some people, success is a promotion. For others, it is owning a house. For someone else, it is earning a certain amount of money, driving a particular car, traveling the world, or building a business from the ground up. Now, let me ask a second question. What if the very thing you are calling success is quietly costing you your health, your relationships, your peace of mind, and your happiness? Would it still be success? I think I should repeat that. I'm asking that what if the very thing you are calling success is quietly affecting you or costing you your health, your relationships, your peace of mind, and your happiness? Would it still be success? Now, let me tell you about a gentleman called Adam. Now, Adam is 35 years old. He lives in Accra. Very young man. I mean, by every outward measure, he is doing very well. You know, he has a master's degree. He has a good job. He drives a decent car. And he recently bought a house through a mortgage. Now, on social media, his life looks inspiring. You know, the kind of profile where, you know, conference pictures, airport photos, professional achievements, motivational quotes, you know, the kind of life many people actually admire. The kind of life many young professionals are working so hard to build. But behind the photos, behind the achievements, behind the smiles, there is another story. A story that very few people see. For the past 5 years, Adam has been running. Not physically, but professionally. His full-time job demands a lot from him. On weekends, he runs an online business, he is pursuing a professional certification, and he serves on the executive committee of a professional association. Adam is doing all of these things. His full-time job demands a lot from him. On weekends, he runs an online business, he's pursuing a professional certification, and he serves on an executive committee of a professional association. His day usually starts around 5 a.m. Many nights, he sleeps after midnight, and he's always busy, always productive, always chasing the next target, and always trying to stay ahead. And if we are honest, if we're going to be very honest, many of us celebrate people like Adam. We admire them. We call them focused, we call them disciplined, hardworking, driven, and all of that. We tell young people to be more like them. Because in today's world, hustle has become a badge of honor. Being busy is almost a status symbol. The busier you are, the more important you appear. The more exhausted you are, the more committed people think you must be. But somewhere along the line, something started changing. Adam became tired. He became very, very tired. Not the kind of tired that, you know, your sleep can fix. No. A deeper tiredness, the kind that follows you everywhere. So he started experiencing headaches, difficulty sleeping, constant irritability, and his mind was always working, even when his body wasn't. He checked emails during family dinners, responded to work messages in church, thought about unfinished tasks while spending time with his wife and children, and he was physically present but mentally elsewhere. And little by little, the people around him began noticing. His wife felt alone, his friends stopped inviting him out, his children got less of his attention, and his relationships started paying the price for his ambition. And yet, he kept going. Because that is what successful people do, right? Or at least, that is what many of us have been taught. Work harder, push harder, sacrifice more, sleep less, do more, keep grinding, keep hustling, keep moving, and just keep going. But here's something worth thinking about. Now, the World Health Organization, WHO, officially recognizes burnout as an occupational phenomenon linked to chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Let me repeat that. The WHO officially recognizes burnout as an occupational phenomenon linked to chronic workplace stress that has not been managed successfully. Think about that. Not occasional stress, not a difficult week, but chronic stress. Chronic stress. Stress that becomes a lifestyle, stress that becomes normal, stress that stays for so long that people stop recognizing it. And perhaps that is one of the biggest challenges facing young professionals today. We live in a culture that rewards achievement, but often ignores well-being. A culture that celebrates promotion, but rarely asks about anxiety. Celebrates the new house, but never asks about the sleepless nights. Celebrates a business group, but ignores the emotional exhaustion behind it. Now, research across the world continues to show rising levels of workplace stress, burnout, anxiety, and emotional fatigue, particularly among young professionals. Today, if you pick a young person in an office, the likelihood is that he's probably experiencing some stress, burnout, anxiety, or emotional fatigue. And maybe that shouldn't surprise us. Think about the pressures. The pressure to succeed, the pressure to earn more, the pressure to buy property, the pressure to support family, the pressure to build a career, the pressure to stay relevant, the pressure created by social media. That is what we're talking about. Every day, we open our phones and see people announcing promotions. LinkedIn. People are announcing promotions. They are launching businesses. They are traveling. They are buying cars. They are buying homes. They are getting married, achieving milestones. And sometimes, without even realizing it, we begin competing with timelines that were never meant to be ours. And suddenly, resting feels like falling behind. Taking a break feels like laziness. Slowing down feels dangerous. And so we keep running and keep running and keep running. Just like Adam, until one day the body starts speaking, the mind starts protesting, the emotions start breaking down. And in Adam's case, the moment came unexpectedly. After weeks of poor sleep and mountain pressure, he experienced symptoms so severe that he thought he was having a heart attack. Imagine that, a 35-year-old man, believing his life might be ending. He was rushed to a hospital, but it wasn't heart attack. It was something else. Something many professionals are quietly battling. Stress, exhaustion, burnout. These things are affecting many people. And that experience falls into ask a very difficult question. A question I think many listeners or many of you listening to me this morning should ask yourselves this morning. That am I building a successful life? Or am I sacrificing my well-being in pursuit of success? Notice something important. The lesson is not that ambition is bad. The lesson is not that hard work is wrong. The lesson is not that goals are unnecessary. The question is whether success and well-being can exist together. Can they coexist? And whether achievement should require self-destruction. Whether productivity should cost us our peace. And whether building a future should mean neglecting the present. And that's exactly what we want to explore this morning on the show. Because this conversation is not about discouraging ambition. Ghana needs ambitious young professionals. We need entrepreneurs, we need innovators, we need people willing to dream big and work hard. The question is not whether we should pursue success. The question is whether we are pursuing it sustainably. And today's roundtable discussion is titled, Are Young Professionals Sacrificing Their Well-Being in Pursuit of Success? Are young professionals sacrificing their well-being in pursuit for success? And I'll be joined by a psychologist and a mental health advocate who will help us unpack what is really happening beneath the surface. Why do so many young professionals feel unable to slow down? Where is the line between healthy ambition and unhealthy overachievement? What are the warning signs that someone may be heading toward burnout? And perhaps most importantly, how can we build successful lives without sacrificing the very well-being that allows us to enjoy them? How can we? And so that's what we'll be talking about this morning on our roundtable discussion. Please don't go anywhere. Stay with us right here, because this conversation may change the way you define success. It may change it totally. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Now, we're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please feel free to drop a comment and I'll read them for you. Also, you can engage us on our WhatsApp 0544321019. Send me a WhatsApp 0544321019 and I'll read your messages for you this morning. All right, that will be all for our business brief segment. Up next is market trend segment. Emmanuel Barton will be joining me very, very soon for that particular conversation. And we're talking about Ghana's growth journey as recorded by the Ghana Statistical Service, or as reported by Ghana Statistical Service. And we'll be talking about that very, very soon. Please don't go anywhere. Stick and stay. But enjoy this. Let's take a quick music break. And when we return, we'll get into all of that. So your future awaits. Just imagine living in a home you love with the freedom to invest in your dream without the burden of interest. So as your CIMG Real Estate Company of the Year for the 4th time, we offer you hassle-free home acquisition. And all you have to do is to place a call to us today. You can call us on 020-477-5042, 020-477-5042, or 020-477-5040, 020-477-5040, or 050-1418622, 050-1418622. And don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Call us now to learn more and schedule a tour of our available homes. Lakeside Estate, we say quality home for all. And so, yes, that's the good news I've got for you this morning. We're going to get into our market trend segment shortly, but keep enjoying this and we will be right back. today. And today I'm going to present to you. Yes, I'm going to bring you that this morning. Now, we're focusing on the story that, on the surface sounds very encouraging, but when you look deeper, it becomes far more complex and more important for every Ghanaian to understand. And today we're looking at what the Ghana Statistical Service, what the GDP growth, and that has been released, figures that has been released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Now, this is for the first quarter of 2026, and the headline is that our economy grew by 6.4% in quarter one of 2026. Ghana's economy grew by 6.4% in quarter one of 2026. Now, on the surface, that is a very strong number. In fact, it is slightly higher than the 6.2% recorded during the same period last year. And in a global environment where many economies are still struggling with inflation, with pressures, inflation pressures, with debt servicing, with currency volatility and post-pandemic recovery challenges, a 6.4% growth rate is not something to ignore. But as always, the real question is not just how much the economy is growing. The real question is, who is this growth working for? Because, growth does not translate good that does not translate into jobs, incomes, affordability, and improved living conditions eventually becomes just a statistic and not a reality people feel in their daily lives. And yesterday we were having a conversation along those lines about most African countries, according to an Afrobarometer report, most African countries have recorded, some growth, and the African people actually believe that, yes, the economy is on the right path, but the unfortunate thing is that they can't really feel the impact in their pockets and all of that. And so that's what we spoke about yesterday. So that is it. And so I'm saying that if growth does not translate into jobs, into incomes, into affordability, and improved living conditions, then eventually we'll just talk about it as a statistic and not a reality that people feel in their lives daily. So today we're going to break this down in a very simple way. 6.4% growth in Q1 of 2026. We are going to look at exactly what is driving the growth, what is slowing it down, and what this really means for businesses, for workers, and households across the country. Now, let's start from the basics. A 6.4% growth rate means that compared to the same period last year, the total value of goods and services produced in Ghana has increased by 6.4%. Let me repeat that. So I'm saying that a 6.4% growth rate, it means that compared to the same period, if you look at this first Q1 of this year, 2026, and Q1 of last year, the total value of goods and services produced here in Ghana, has increased by 6.4%. Now, in simple terms, the economy is producing more. That's what it means. Businesses are producing more, and they are producing more goods and services. And then there is more economic activity happening. That's what it means. But here is where we must be very careful. Economic growth does not automatically mean economic comfort. You can have a growing economy where prices are still high, jobs are not increasing fast enough, salaries are not keeping up, and households are still struggling to make ends meet. So while the 6.4% growth is a positive signal, it is not the full story. We must always ask ourselves, is this growth inclusive? Is it sustainable? And is it visible in everyday life? These are the three key questions we must ask ourselves. Because if the answer is no, then growth becomes something we read in reports and not something we experience at the market. In transport fares, in rents, and in job opportunities. So that is one of the things that we must really look at. We're asking ourselves, is this inclusive? Is it or is it broad-based? Is it sustainable? Or is it visible in everyday life? Now let's go into what is actually powering this 6.4% growth. Now the Ghana Statistical Service says that the growth is being driven mainly by three key sectors. Number one is the services sector, followed by the industry and agriculture. But one sector stands clearly above the rest, which is services. The services sector expanded by 7.1% and contributed almost half That is 48.3% of our overall GDP. And that is very, very significant because it tells us something very important about the structure of our economy today. We are increasingly becoming a service-driven economy. From time to time, we hear that services is driving our growth. And within services, there are three major engines that are actually leading this growth. We can talk about ICT, which grew by a remarkable 25.2%. Transport and storage growing at 13%, and then trade growing at 9%. Now, if you step back and look at this, a pattern actually emerges. This is not a traditional economy story anymore. This is a digital and services economy story. ICT growing at 25%, it's not normal. It's not a normal incremental growth. It is a transformation level growth. And it suggests that many people are going digital. Businesses are relying on technology. Mobile money and digital payments are expanding, and the internet economy is becoming more active. So one part of Ghana's good story is clearly modernization. That's what we are seeing. But there's another part, and that is the industry. Now, the industry also grew strongly, 6.9% compared to 4.1% last year. And again, one major driver stands out, which is the mining and quarrying. Mining grew by 10.7%. Now, let's pause here for a moment. Mining is one of Ghana's most important export sectors. And we all know that it brings in foreign exchange, it attracts investment, and supports government revenue. But mining also tells a very specific kind of growth story. It is capital intensive and not labor intensive. What that means is that it contributes a lot to GDP, but it does not necessarily create mass employment. So when mining drives growth, we must always ask ourselves that who is benefiting, or who benefits the most? Is it the broader population, or is it concentrated in a few companies, regions, and revenue channels? And by companies, we all know that most of majority are foreign companies. So we must ask ourselves these questions. We also saw oil and gas recovering at 7%, which adds another layer of external dependency to the growth structure. So yes, industry is strong, but it is also uneven, which is something we must think about. Now, let's come to agriculture. Agriculture grew by 4%. Now, on paper, that is moderate and stable. But when we break it down, we see something quite worrying. Fishing declined sharply by 18.5%. Fishing declined sharply by 18.5%. And that is not a small dip. That's a major, major contraction. Now, think about what fishing means in Ghana. Coastal livelihoods, food security, local employment, market supply chains, household incomes. These are all things that are very, very, very important. And that is something we must be concerned about. So when fishing collapses by nearly 20%, it is not just an economic statistic, it's a social and a livelihood issue. At the same time, crop production grew by 4.7% and forestry by 9%, which helped stabilize the sector. But the imbalance tells us something important as well, that agriculture is not collapsing, but it is also uneven and vulnerable. So that is also another thing. Now, here's where the story becomes very interesting. We have 6.4% GDP growth, strong ICT performance, strong mining output, expanding trade and export. Yet at the same time, fishing is collapsing. Some service sectors are shrinking, and many households still feel economic pressure. So the question then becomes, why does growth not feel like growth for many people? And the answer lies in something economists call distribution of growth. Growth can happen in pockets of the economy without spreading evenly across society. And so I remember yesterday, Emmanuel was asking me that ICT is growing and all of these things, but am I growing? Because I don't find myself in that sector, I don't grow at the end of the day. So you can have a booming ICT sector, we can have a strong mining sector, and a growing transport sector, but still have high unemployment in certain communities, rising cost of living, and weak income growth for many households. And this is the paradox of modern African economies. Now let's bring this closer to home. For most Ghanaians, the economy is not a GDP chart. The economy is their transport fare, is their food prices, is their rent, is their school fees, their jobs and salaries. So the real question is that, is 6.4% growth creating enough jobs? And that is where many economies struggle. because ICT grows fast but does not employ large numbers yet. Mining grows, but it is capital intensive and not labor intensive. Trade grows, but often informal and unstable. We can also talk about agriculture. Agriculture is still low productivity in many areas. So the structure of growth does not automatically guarantee employment expansion, which is supposed to be the case, but it is not. And that is why people can see growth in the news, but not feel it in their pocket. So this morning, I'm sure somebody is listening to me. They're hearing me mention these things and they don't care, because that is not what they are looking at. They want to feel the impact in their pockets. And one of the most important signals in this report is the ICT growth of 25.2%. This is not just economic growth. This is a structural transformation. It tells us that Ghana is becoming more digital, financial services are more technology driven, communication systems are evolving, and business transactions are increasingly online. And this is the direction of the future economy. But it also creates a divide between those who are digitally connected and those who are not. So digital growth is an opportunity, but it's also a policy responsibility, because if we don't manage it well, it can widen inequality. And I've seen a lot of people raise concerns around those things. And so we must be very concerned. So that is what we are seeing. Now, let me step back and ask a big question. Is Ghana's 6.4% growth sustainable? Is it sustainable? The answer is maybe potentially yes, but with conditions. Because sustainability depends on diversification of our growth sectors, stronger job creation capacity, stability in agriculture and food systems, reduced volatility in mining and oil dependence, and stronger productivity across sectors. Right now, we have growth momentum, but momentum alone is not enough. It must be converted into structural transformation. If we really want to see this growth sustainable, then we must diversify our growth sectors, make sure that our job creation capacity is stronger. We must ensure stability in agriculture and food systems. And also, we must see a reduced volatility in mining and oil dependence. We have to reduce our dependence on mining and oil. And also maybe come up with a stronger productivity across sectors. And so that is very, very important. So what is the real takeaway from all of these things I'm saying? What I'm saying is that the economy is growing, yes, but growth is not yet fully translating into shared responsibility. We are seeing a modernizing services sector or economy, a resurging mining sector, a recovering industry sector, and a fragile but active, agricultural base. But we are also seeing uneven sector performance. We are seeing weakness in key livelihood sectors like fishing, and continued pressure on households. These are the things we are seeing. So the story of our economy in Q1 of 2026 is not just a success story. It is a transition story. A story of movement, a story of restructuring, and most importantly, a reminder that the real test of economic growth is not just a percentage on paper. It is the quality of life of the people who live inside the economy. If at the end of the day, jobs do not come, if at the end of the day, transport fares remain high or continue to go higher, if people do not see this translate into their salaries and all of that, then I tell you that we are just quoting numbers and we are talking about statistics, which is not what the Ghanaian people want to hear. They actually want to see proper growth. They want to see things really happen for them. And so that is that for our market trend segment for today. We're going to get into a roundtable discussion and we'll talk a lot more. And today we're talking, not necessarily economics. We're talking about whether young people are, pursuing success at the expense of their well-being. And we're looking at mental health specifically. And so we'll talk about that shortly. Please stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. You can continue to engage us on our social media platforms. Send us a WhatsApp on 0544-321019, 0544-321019. Or you can call us on 030395664, 030395664, and then we'll give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please feel free to drop a comment I'll read them for you right here on the show. All right, so we'll take another quick music break. When we return, my guests will join me for our roundtable discussion. Please stay tuned.
Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus, time for one. Beye biara ya weni jie wo Yesu. Ni your time for one. Obe shishe ni nine chino ya weni jie wo Yesu. Ah ya weni jie osure ni jie. Oh ya wa hoto. Hoto sura hoto. Time for one. Beye biara ye weni chie wo Yesu. Ya weni chie oh surrender chie oh ya wa hoto sura hoto enunti ni on time for one. O me shishe ni nine chino ya weni chie wo Yesu.
for staying with us. That was Tribute Medley 2020 by A.B. Quating and TWM. Very, very good reggae music there. I mean, gospel reggae music, of course. Not Bob Marley kind of music. But anyway, thank you very much. Let's get into our roundtable discussion for today. And today, we're having a very important conversation on whether we're asking that our young professionals today, pursuing success at the expense of their well-being. And more specifically, we're looking at their mental health and all of that. And lines, he's an organizational psychologist, and I also have in studio Stanislaus Nyako, my very good brother, and he's a mental health advocate. He's in studio to also join us have this conversation. All right, so gentlemen, let me start with Jeffrey so that I make sure that I can hear me. Hi, Jeffrey. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm God's grace. How are you doing too?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's good to have you on the call this morning. Stan, Charlie Alvi.
Charlie.
Everything cool.
Everything cool. Very cool like the weather.
Everything cool like the weather. I like that.
Charlie.
All right. Anyway, gentlemen, let's get into our conversation today, and I want us to have a very light conversation. Nothing too technical, just the basics, and let everybody understand exactly what we're talking about. Now, let me start from here. When we talk about success today, what are we talking about? I mean, what does success currently mean for most young professionals today? And Stan, I'll start with you, then I go to Jeffrey.
Okay, so currently the trend I see and what I'm picking on, when we talk success currently, it's the car you drive, the house you live in, the women you have, for some of the guys, and when it comes to the ladies, to their head fix, their body shape, and all those things. Yeah, when you're able to get these things in, and you're able to just enhance your self-esteem, then you're successful. That is, from where I stand, that is what success has come to mean for our young generation.
Yeah. Right. I see. That's interesting. I'll come back to you on that. Jeffrey, what do you also think?
That is indeed very interesting. That is. Well, I think overall, it solely depends on the individual and the kind of self-awareness that individual has been able to form about themselves over the years. The reason why I'm saying this is because to an individual, success could just basically be what Stanis is saying. To another, success would be the fact that I am able to take care of myself. I have enough money saved somewhere that I can hold on in case of emergency. For somebody, I want to work in a certain organization, maybe one of the biggest organizations in Ghana. I want to have enough money to take care of my family, and also get something to drive a very good car, like Stanis is saying. So it ultimately depends on the individual and the level of self-awareness or purpose-driven desire that individual has.
But would you say that this definition has changed? I mean, compared to previous generations, Jeff?
Has it been altered? Yes. When you say it has been changed, it drives the narrative that we see it from a different perspective altogether. But I believe it has been altered greatly by social media, a culture we cannot run away from. Yes.
Stan, what do you also think?
Oh yeah, I think it has altered or changed anyway. From where you're looking at it, because in those days, right, being successful meant a man being able to fend for his immediate family.
Yeah.
So if you're a man and you have 3 wives, you should be able to fend for all 3 wives. That was success. And then going forward, a generation came where success was tied to your primary source of income. So if you're a bank manager, automatically you are successful. If you were a doctor, you were successful. And then comes our generation who are also looking at some self-space. They need some space to thrive as they work. So as I am working currently, I should have some free time on my own to cool down and relax. So if my work is taking that free opportunity from me, then I don't see myself as a successful person, because work is taking more of their life. They need some free time in addition to what they are doing. And so that is how it has altered. So now people are looking at getting them their money all right, and then having some time to chill again. So they make the argument and say people who own corporations don't really do anything. They just sit in their homes and then enjoy life as the systems work for them. So that is going to be the new idea or the new vision of success that our current generation are looking forward to. And this brings some pressures
to them, right? Now, for some young people, I mean, young professionals, I want us to limit this conversation or keep this conversation in the confines of professional spaces. You talk about, you know, I mean, Jeffrey talks about the social media bit of it, and I think that is more inclined with the issue about the luxury and all of those things you mentioned when we started the conversation. But there's also that bit where employers are giving some sort of pressure to workers to be able to meet their targets and all of that. And Jeffrey, you're an organizational psychologist. You should be able to speak to this better. Is that something that we are seeing as well?
Yes, there is something yes. Just like you rightly said in the very large part of your statement, you know, employers, and in this employees, I'm talking about people who are above a certain line, you know, the managers, the supervisors, you know, they have certain quotas, they have certain objectives they have been set, certain targets that they have to meet. And what happens is that we fail to look at individuals under our care as separate individuals, as being distinctively unique. Why am I saying this? I can be a hiring manager and hire you and hire Stanis, right? Now here's the thing: you have all been hired for a particular job, right? However, your mental resources differ individually. Now what that means is that if I decide to give Stanis, okay, a workload of about 20 quota, you're going to like bring in this number of sales, and I give you the same thing without accessing your mental resource or your capacity, what it's going to do is that if you have certain extra burden, say you have about 3 kids or 4 kids, and 2 of them are suffering from one condition or the other, or somebody's not doing too well, your ability to handle the workload I've given you will drop. So when I push you, what is going to happen at the end of the day is that there's going to be a burnout, there's going to be occupational depression, there's going to be things are going to happen that will cause you not to be a high-performing individual. Meanwhile, we were originally hired as a high-performing individual based on A, B, C. But as we progress, the question is, how many organizations do we have currently who make mental health a KPI index before they ditch out every, responsibility or target to their various employees? This is one of the things that is killing a lot of what employees, because you hire performance. Yes, that is what you do. You hire them for their ambition because you know that all these individuals have a certain level of drive. They want to do A, B, C. However, they cannot do that at the cost of their health or at the cost of their mental health. So one dies without the other.
But is that happening elsewhere, or is it limited to Ghana? It's happening globally.
We can see it all around the world. It is happening elsewhere. However, there are some organizations who have, even in Ghana, the organizations who have made mental health a component of their KPI. So you go to an organization, they give you a task. Your manager might not categorically say that this is a mental health strategy or a mental health initiative. However, they give you a task and they ask you, oh, what can we do, okay, to help you achieve this task? Now, that alone is comfort. That alone tells the employee that, oh, they are not just interested in you delivering on the final project. They are interested in the how you go about it, and they are also willing to support you in that process. So if you have been given a task, okay, and your boss asks you, how can I help you to make you achieve this thing? How do you feel? Or how would you feel? Instead of just saying, oh, go and deliver this, and I don't care how you do it, just go and bring it, because that is why you were hired for. Between these 2 bosses, which one would you prefer to work with? It's a question for you.
Of course, the one that gives you a lot more information in there to work with.
Exactly. So our employers, beyond the capital they will need to achieve the task, do they look at the mental resource they provide these persons? How is your week looking like today? It's a simple question, but it's a question that encapsulates a lot. In particular, it targets your emotional, it targets how you're feeling psychologically, it targets so many things. And then they can open up. And once they open up, you understand what their need is.
Right.
And you do what? You roll out an intervention for them.
I see. Stan, I see you nodding. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Oh, yeah. So, aside the occupational side of things, young professionals are trying to push themselves beyond their limits, partly because of what society also expects of them. For example, a young professional, this is a sad reality, but how we do a young professional is just got employed into a corporation or a job, and family is like, okay, yeah, so finally, say he becomes the breadwinner automatically at a very tender age. And the argument as well, we did our best to push you through school, and now we have siblings and so on and so forth that you have to come and fend for. So immediately they enter the space, society is expecting them to start helping. And as you can see, like, you know, the dynamics of job and everything in our current dispensation. So this brings extra stress. So people move from being intrinsically motivated to work now to the extrinsic side, which is now we are looking at the work because it is going to provide us stuff other than I have this genuine desire to just go and be productive at work. So when the motivation shifts, that is where we enter the other phase of, am I doing this in a healthy manner, or am I going into an adaptive phase, like a maladaptive phase, as I try to cope with the demands work brings? So some of the expectations that family brings, or the society, we are in a collectivist culture. It may even go beyond your nuclear family. Extended family will also be wanting to tap from whatever it is you are earning, and this brings another stress, and they want to go beyond. So they try to push themselves more to the detriment of their mental health.
I see. So which conditions do people come to you? I know you engage a lot of people as an advocate. People come to you. What kinds of challenges are they facing? So, but of course, we've established three things already. That social media is influencing people a lot. We've also talked about the fact that the society, I mean, you added that just now, and also even employers, all of these pressure coming, and they are all extrinsic and they're external. Maybe just before I come to the question I asked you, how problematic is that?
Okay, so I wanted to touch on one theory that makes a lot of meaning out of this one. So there is the self-determination theory.
Okay,
it banks on three things. It looks at autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Okay,
so if a young professional is autonomous, it means that he feels the actions he's taken, he is in control of them.
Right.
If he is competent, it means that he can rely on the skills and the values he has to be productive. And then when it comes to relatedness, he needs to feel connected and valued by other people.
Okay.
So they argue that if these three things are in check, this person is going to thrive in what he or she does.
Right.
But it gets to a point. So these are factors to move intrinsic motivation. But when the external environment begins to now call the shots, so like the family example and everything we put inside, if they begin to call the shots, the motivation now moves from the relatedness and the competence bit, now go to the other side. So my competence is now based on how many quotas I'm able to submit, how many expectations I'm able to meet from the bosses. So it has changed from what I want to do and my competence level to what society, like what they are cutting for me to do now. Again, in the family setting that I mentioned, if I'm not able to pay rent for the family, if I'm not able to pay my little brother's school fees, then it means I am not as competent as I thought.
When you're you are still unable to do all of these things.
So now, because of that, you begin to feel intrinsic motivation leaves the equation now. Now you're depending on extrinsic motivation. And that has not helped the mental health in any way.
So what is the effect?
The effect is a lot. There are a lot of effects. So we've mentioned burnout. So burnout comes with three dimensions. There is depersonalization. Depersonalization means you look at yourself and you look at what you are doing, and there's like a detachment from it. So you're looking at yourself and you can't even identify who that is anymore. That is how bad it gets. Yeah. That is the depersonalization bit of it. There is the fatigue that sleep cannot solve. So you are tired, you go to rest, you wake up, you are not rested enough. That is burnout. And all these things are tied to the stressor, which is having to meet the demands that extrinsic motivation is now bringing into the picture, or the demands that are coming to you externally. And so burnout is there, there's stress. And then, like you mentioned, what do people complain about? I saw a client recently, and he was in this state of hypervigilance.
What's that?
Hypervigilance has to do with as a symptom of anxiety in a chronic phase, where you are hypersensitive. Yeah, you are very sensitive to anything around you. There is this, it's like you are scared, or you're anticipating a fear.
I see.
Yeah. So he comes and then we are discussing what may be wrong, and he tells me he worked for a big company in Ghana for 11 years, and the stress was, he worked from like 7 to 7. Yeah, with minimal rest and all those things. And he's done this for like 11, 12 years. And the point is, like Jeffrey was saying, how many investors are going to sit down and take time to monitor? I know they are doing those things now, but maybe in those days he didn't get that. So he was still working and compromising his health, and all he cared about was meeting quotas, and like just as long as we are thriving, everything should be fine. And it has hurt him a lot. So currently he's battling with high blood pressure, he's battling with the hypervigilance I mentioned, and
so it's not just a mental health issue.
No, it becomes somatic as well, because the link between your physical health and your mental health is not too far, and then they affect each other as well. So you may be having a mental health issue, and it comes to affect your physical health, especially chronic forms of anxiety. You may begin to have, when you have the GI problems, your gastrointestinal system is shutting down. You may begin to feel some pains around your stomach. You may have a certain headache, migraines, as a result of anxiety as well. Now, where would the anxiety come from? Your need to meet the quota. Now, if the resources you have, there is this saying that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
If you are fatigued, you are burnt out, there is nothing there's nothing meaningful you can contribute. So if you are expected to meet the target and you are burnt out, that is where the anxiety also comes in. Am I going to be laid off? Are they going to sack me? Are they going to give me those queries and all those things for not meeting my target?
Right.
But psychologically, I'm not there to be meeting targets at this point. So these are some of the challenges that would arise from the pressures that comes to us. Yeah.
We're going to come to some of the solutions very soon. And I think one of the things that Jeffrey mentioned early on was actually, I think he put it in a particular way, KPI, is a KPI index or something, you know. We'll look at that, I mean, bringing in mental health in there. But let me bring in Jeffrey now. Jeffrey, so, I mean, you've been following the conversation. Do you have anything to add to whatever Stan has said so far?
Yeah. Let me just quickly say that, you know, in the work dimension, let me digress a bit and tell you something I used to do in school. So back in school, you study and the idea is to get an A. That's an ambition, right?
Yeah.
We all can agree, whatever grade you decide to set for yourself, whatever benchmark you give yourself is an ambition. So if you want an A, it's an ambition. If you want a B plus, an ambition. If you want a B, a C, an E, an F, it's equally an ambition. And all you have to do is put in the effort, right? Good. So this is what I tell myself. I tell myself that I don't need 100% to get an A. And this was after a lecturer exposed me to this thought. Now I want you to remember the word thought, thinking pattern. So when the lecturer exposed me to this thought, it sort of like opened my mind to a new world, a new dimension, where I felt like all of a sudden I have gained extra 24 hours. Now this is what I mean. You will begin a syllabus, you'll be given areas that you study. If in the semester you're able to do maybe 5 or 10 areas, right? Let's say 5. From this 5, they're going to set exams questions from all these 5 areas. My job now is not to have mastery over all 5. Yes, I'm going to study all 5. I'm going to go through all 5. But my job will be I set a target, probably I should have mastery over 4 of them. or 3.5 of them. And once I set that tone, there is this level of calmness that comes. And I go into these exams and I write. I don't go inside panicking. I understand that all I have to do to make an A is 80%. Do you get the picture? All I have to do to make an A is 80%. I don't need to kill myself. I don't need to burn too much midnight candle. I don't need to cram things. I don't go into that state of panic. You know, prevention has always been a relatively far cheaper than the treatment, than the cost of treatment when it comes to any form of thing. Prevention has always been way cheaper than what? Than the treatment.
Yeah.
I wrote something here. Imagine you have a car. Now this car is running on what? Fuel. You need fuel. Ambition in itself is not good enough. Stannis mentioned something. Motivation. Motivation in itself is a theory. We have various theories. Now, you have an ambition, a target you have set for yourself, either as an employee, as a worker, whoever you are. I find this more problematic, especially in the health sector. Nurses, doctors. Recently, I was speaking to a nurse, and she has been put on night rotation for a whole month, right? What this means is that she's going to go to work overnight, back to back to back to back, right? And back to back to back to back, what they do is that if she goes 3 days in, she will take about 3 days off straight. What is that? This is what is happening to that individual. That individual is working herself out maximum, almost at the verge of breaking down, and then they give her a time to go and what? Like rest, recuperate, come back. That in itself, over a long period, is going to build up so much strain in that individual that's going to affect her mental health, and eventually we're going to see it in various levels of physical health in itself. So you see it from BP, you will see it from a peculiar spine condition because of the way, if the person is sitting every day, because of the way the person is sitting and not moving. Like, there's going to be a build-up of little things over time. So protecting your mental health, okay, and longevity is what a lot of organizations should be looking at. We are not saying that, oh, the fact that we have hired you as a high performer means that you should do what? You should break down. Ambition is good. Ambition is good. It is why you hire people, because you understand where they see themselves, and you feel like, oh, I can have this person on board and help my organization reach this particular goal. It's like saying stress. Stress is normal. There's nothing bad about stress. However, when it builds up repeatedly over time and nothing is being done about it, that is when it builds up into something we call chronic stress, and that is not what organizations want. We want individuals who are driven, who are energized, who are not depleted. When you keep bending metal, you bend it, you straighten it, you bend it, you straighten it, you bend it, you straighten it. What happens is that over time, when you bend, it breaks. It breaks. So you use somebody to the max, you give the person a few days off, you bring the person back. So you have bent the person, you have straightened the person. You bend the person, you straighten the person. You bend the person, you straighten the person. And like Stannis has said, this person has worked for 11 years. It's a long period. And now this person is on the verge of breaking. So to young individuals like myself, youngsters, the youth who are trying to make ends meet, Stanley said something that is very important. I feel like I should iterate again. You know, there's a need for us to evaluate the ambition we have. There's an important need for us to evaluate the ambition we have. I told you to keep the word thought in mind for a reason. Your thought patterns, whether you like it or yes, shapes an integral part of how you perceive things and how you are able to handle things. Everything is thought dependent. So you ask yourself, the ambition I want or I've set for myself, is it fear based? Have I set this ambition for myself because I want to keep people around my circle? I want to prevent people from leaving? Is this something that is really meaningful to me? Like the teacher told me, 80% is all you need to get an A. I wanted an A. because I felt like I'm an intelligent student, or I felt like this is where I want to see myself in life. And because I want to see myself in life in this particular level, this is my target. So he came in and gave me a new resource, just like you ask an employer will ask the employee, how's your mental state? What do you need for this to be possible? The teacher gave me that in a class without even realizing. So I took that, and that was a thought process. Initially, you are thinking, all you have to do is get an A, is read cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover. Don't have a social life, cover to cover, cover to cover, cover. When somebody is greeting, you don't even say hi, just go like, because you feel like when you talk, something you have learned is going to escape.
Yeah.
You understand? But in learning itself, there's a theory that says that once learning is semantic, the meaning of the word holds value to you, it is less likely for you to forget. So in that same context, the ambition you have, if it is purposeful, if it's meaningful, you understand that you don't have to achieve it in a space of 2 years. You don't have to achieve it in a space of 3 months. With this whole digital culture and the idea of get rich quick schemes, the idea of, somebody bought crypto and it worked for the person, and because of that, young people are billionaires and millionaires and ABC. Yes, it is all good, and we are happy for those people who are making it. But it does not mean that you, the individual who are not at that level, you are a failure. This is where the thought or the thinking pattern comes in. Over time, we have developed maladaptive thinking, maladaptive thoughts that begin to shape the ambition we even have. Sister is in his opening statement make mention of the fact that people perceive success as what? Driving the fastest car or the nicest car, having some really, really nice women, and the whole, we like it.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
All right, gentlemen, please.
Having all these things, you understand? But the point is, do you really need these things? Why do you think you want to pursue these things? Of what significance and what value are these things to you? When you begin to evaluate the ambition itself, you begin to take away things that you realize that I don't need. Because in about 5 years, in about 10 years, will these things still be meaningful to you? If not, then quit pursuing them.
Right.
Quit pursuing them. So if it's purpose-based, it becomes meaningful. Then that ambition and your mental health can be in homeostasis, can be balanced, can work together. And it's just like the ego, the super ego. The id, we have been told that it's an identity trait in personality that everybody is born with. So a child wants food, the child starts crying, the child will keep crying till you satisfy that desire of food. That is immediate gratification. However, there is a need for you to control that id, that thing we are calling id. There's a need for you to control it as the child is growing, because it will get to a point in a child's stage. It's not everything that a child can ask for that the child will be given or can actually acquire, or you can even provide for that child. And the ego comes in to regulate that desire,
right,
and pin it against your morality. So once you begin to evaluate your ambition, what it does for you is that it puts you in a state of equilibrium, balance, where you feel like, this is the reason why I am looking at A, B, C, E, F, G. And if in 20 years, 30 years, this is not going to be meaningful, it's not going to be meaningful to me, or prosperity is going to see me in a different light, or people will use me as a bad example for their watch.
Right.
Then why am I pursuing this?
Okay, Jeffrey. So very important. So my next question to you, maybe in some 30 seconds, so that Stan can also come in. How can somebody really evaluate their ambition?
Just give you the breakdown. So let me just go over it again. How can somebody evaluate their ambition?
Yeah.
First thing you ask yourself is, why am I pursuing this goal?
Okay.
If you're going to identify why you are pursuing that particular goal, you ask yourself, how meaningful is it to me? The next thing you're going to ask yourself is, because it might be meaningful to you today, it can actually be meaningful to you today. then you ask yourself, in the next 5 to 10 years, how relevant will it be to you?
Right.
Now, if you go through this tweak process, you would have taken about 50% of things that is driving that ambition out that you will not need, and give yourself longevity to be able to accomplish a better task. The reason is simple. You have an ambition of, say, I want to build 5 houses in 5 years. That's a good ambition. What are you currently doing? How are you going to see that ambition come to pass? Are you going to work yourself to that? So you begin to work yourself, and before you realize, it's going to be after 5 years. You can't even work. The energy to work is no longer there. You have developed so many things at a very fast rate.
All right.
But if you ask yourself, oh, why do I need that 5 houses? Is this 5 houses very meaningful? What is the reason for needing these houses? Maybe I just need one for family, one for extended family, and one for my kids. You know, before you realize, you have cut down the houses to about 3 or 2. So I believe these are one of the ways in which you can evaluate the serious ambitions that we have.
You ask yourself some questions. All right, gentlemen, please hold on. Let me just announce the lines in case anybody wants to join the conversation. Well, 33 minutes after 9, this is the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM with me, Nature B. Hammond. And today we're talking about whether young people are sacrificing their well-being in pursuit of success. And my guest, Stanislaus Nyako, is in studio. He's a mental health advocate. And I also have Jeffrey Boache. He is an organizational psychologist. He joins me over the phone lines for the conversation. You are free to join us. Send us a WhatsApp if you have any questions. 0544321019, 0544321019. You can also call me on 030395661, 030395661, and then I give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH and on YouTube at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment there and I'll read them for you. All right, I think what we've done so far is that we've been able to establish the reason why young people are pursuing success. And Stan, you talk about some intrinsic things and also some extrinsic ones, external ones as well. I think Jeffrey also spoke about social media as one of them, and he says that one of the things that every young person needs to do is to evaluate their ambition, check whether whatever you are pursuing is even worth it. And that's just one of the things that we have to do. But Stan, you were talking about some of the problems that young people are facing today, and you talk about burnout, and you talk about stress as well, and also fatigue. Yes. Now, let's break it down for somebody who doesn't know what burnout is. What exactly is burnout, and how do you know that you are beginning to get burnt out?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, even before I touch on burnout, I just wanted to put the other aspect of the conversation that hasn't come out. That is overachievement. I think we've not mentioned overachievement yet. And what Jeffrey was saying has a bearing on overachievement, right? So overachievement, by definition, is a pattern of compulsive goal pursuit driven by a genuine desire, not by a genuine desire rather, but a desire of fear, like fear of failure. There is shame, there's avoidance, and there is identity fragility. So overachievement involves consistently setting and pursuing goals beyond what is sustainable, meaningful, and health preserving. So that is basically what Jeffrey was talking about here. So the opposite of ambition would be the overachievement vibe of it. That in itself is a problem. Yeah. So even before we look at the burnout and the fatigue and all those things, overachievement is a problem. The problem in here is that you see things like anxiety, because you are pushed by the fear of success.
Fear of failure.
Fear of failure, yes. Fear of failure, Fear of failure. Because you are scared to fail, you are not at a normal when it comes to thinking.
Yeah.
He mentioned something about thoughts, holding thoughts constant and then working with the thoughts you have in your head. If you are somebody who is moved by fear-driven, you are not at that stable ground. He mentioned cortisol, stress. And we've mentioned cortisol here several. That's the body stress hormone. So long as you are stressed, cortisol begins to flow in your system. Now, when cortisol reaches its max, when chronic stress, as he mentioned, accumulated stress, when it builds over a period, cortisol intensifies in your system. Now, the part of the brain responsible for decision making, which is the prefrontal cortex, has an interaction with cortisol, such that the cortisol the receptors of the cortisol bind to those receptor sites, and they end up impeding the function of the prefrontal cortex. So in those situations, you cannot function like you want to, because the functioning dimension of your body or your brain is compromised by the excess stress hormones that are released. So it doesn't do you any good at all, especially when it comes to when you're going to the with signs, and then the burnouts, and then the depression and all those things. Now, if we are going into clinical terms, and we are putting our mental health on the spot as a result of some of these things we face, you realize that a situation like a depression, which is very real, when you are failing to meet the demands of society, now you've moved from internal motivation to external motivation. If you are not meeting the targets like the external people, the external society has set for you, you begin to ask yourself certain questions. Am I still competent?
Okay. Yeah.
Do I still have a purpose? Is this life worth living? If your answers are negative, you realize that you begin to ask yourself other questions. So why am I still doing this? Is this still justified? Then we enter a place we call rumination. So rumination is just rethinking negative thoughts. So the thoughts are negative, all right, but you are contemplating over it, and you are accepting it as your reality. So when you begin to do this, you lose your competence, which you once had. And competence lost makes you a useless person to yourself. And from uselessness, you are moving to worthlessness, hopelessness. And then there is this guilt of you not being able to reach the targets that society or family has for you. And that is clinical depression. Simply put, this thought patterns would reduce you to clinical depression. There's also the issue of stress and then the cortisol interactions in your brain. That has also been proven to lead to diseases like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, and all those things if left unchecked. So a person who is overly ambitious, or somebody who is trying to overachieve, is indirectly calling some of these things to themselves. Again, you can, because of how you are thinking and processing stuff, you can easily rupture a part of your brain. Now, the ruptures in the brains are what brings stroke. So you are always thinking, processing stuff. That's not healthy for the brain. The stress and strain you are giving to the brain. He mentioned bending a metal and straightening it. That can happen to your brain as well. So this brain ruptures and aneurysms that are not caused out of a vacuum. Accumulated stress from some of these things, overachievement. You set the bar so high, you don't even know how you can meet it practically. And now your brain is supposed to be processing how can we meet it. And the back and forth can cause a burst. There's this boom in your brain, and then left side stroke, right side stroke, depending on where the part is, where the part that is affected. We've also seen psychotic.
Is that why we are seeing a lot of numbers of, a lot of young people battling all kinds of things?
That is very true. And I like the fact that Jeffrey has, I think, spoken about the thoughts part. The side where your mind comes into the picture. He has stressed on it also. I don't want to talk about it again, but it is very important. If you can hold the thoughts, like you said, spread the ambition across, you can't achieve everything in a day. It does you a lot of, it gives you like this buffer. So there is this thing I tell people recently. So I told them, currently I have an MPhil. I would wish to be driving a car and having my dream job and working. I don't have them now. Now when I go home and I say things like that, the first things my immediate family tells me, my auntie is one of the people who shuts me down first. You would want to keep quiet. You would want to stop saying those things. So she brings my mind back to process. So she tells me, you know how far you've come. You are doing your part, and God will do the rest.
Right.
So if you can keep quiet and continue what you are doing, eventually the things you are craving now will come to pass. Now, what this does to you is it gives you meaning. So there's something called meaning making in mental health literature. Meaning making means you are looking at your current situation, though you are not there yet. You are tying it with your immediate context. We are a very spiritual and religious nation. So the religious bit is there. Now, they say heaven helps those who help themselves. So if I am helping myself, obviously heaven's help will come through. So I am anticipating help from heaven, but I am doing my part. So whatever social media is displaying to me, it doesn't move me much. So I have colleagues who would be in the situation we are talking, they'll be trying to overachieve. But I don't think I am tempted to overachieve because I'm following process.
All right.
And I know that, like Jeffrey has said, I'm spreading the ambition across. If we do like 3 or 4 years and I realize I'm still where I am, then I know that something has gone wrong. So instead of me being bad for that one, I still come back, contemplate, look at it again, think through again, see where I went wrong. So this is a healthier mindset. Right. This is a healthier mindset. And this will prevent you, it will shield you from the anxiety, the depression, because I'm not going to talk down on myself because I'm following process. So long as the process doesn't end, I may get to my BYD, but I would want a Mercedes Benz. So I continue again. At least I've gotten to one point. So it means process works. So now that I understand the doctrine of process, I don't think I would bring any unnecessary stress on me, and which would lead me to my facility to go and do some plenty counseling and back and forth and so on and so forth.
Right. So young people need to understand I like the way you put it, the doctrine of process, that allow time, allow things to unfold. You don't rush to get all things at once. All right. So we were talking about I wanted us to talk about the conditions, the burnout, the stress, the depression, the fatigue, and all of that. If we can just mention them briefly, and then just highlight exactly what it is, how people can know when they are getting there. I'll be very glad. So let me start with Jeffrey. Jeffrey, any of them you want to touch, or maybe you can talk about two of them, maybe burnout, fatigue, any of them you want to talk about. Then Stan will also address them, so that young people can know whether they are getting there or not. Jeff.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I want to look at depression, but depression in the occupational context.
Right.
So it's called occupational depression, And clinical, Stanis has spoken about clinical depression at the time. So since we are looking at employees, I just want us to send our mind to how the work setting can actually initiate the occurrence of what occupational depression. Now, this is everything Stanis has mentioned with regards to depression, but however, the factors that actually trigger this occupational depression are found nowhere else but in the organization. So these factors include the amount of workload an individual is assigned to, in contrast to the resources the individual has been given in order to achieve that particular task. The amount of control or autonomy an individual has over his or her work. They can assign you a work, but if you don't have enough autonomy to be able to handle that job, you always find yourself in between going back and forth. And over time, this can the build-up of this will trigger occupational depression. So this is a wake-up call to hiring managers, that it's important for them to evaluate people's mental health as parts of the screening process. And once you're able to evaluate their mental health and you bring them on board, conduct yourself, have a culture that seeks to protect and reinforce that mental health. Because mental health is actually real wealth. Mental health, I dare say, it's actually the real wealth of health. Because without you can have a headache, or you can have a little bruise on your arm and still go to work. But immediately something triggers in your mind, it's a whole different ballgame altogether. Forgetfulness can set in. Forgetfulness, or when it gets to a certain level, it's not just, I just forgot, and I'm really fear, baby. It becomes a mental problem, and it affects the way you work. You go to a reservation, we send in a list for somebody to book a few of a ticketing organization for them to book tickets for you. The ticketing agent had a big fight in the house, was not able to settle these things, have a prevailing problem of marital something in the house, comes to the office with this baggage. There's no area of counseling in the workplace that they can do a quick therapy session, right? And sit behind their computer. They just come, clock in, sit behind. Before you realize, they miss about 4 names on the list. But this is business class, first class. People's flights are delayed. Businesses are losing opportunity. And all you get at the end of the day is either somebody getting fired or gone with a warning, and somebody else losing their job.
Right.
Meanwhile, a problem that has been created has not been solved.
I see. Right. So, do you think that policies are enough, or maybe there should be, or culture is more important in dealing with some of these things you talk about? Jeff?
Yeah, hello? Sorry.
Yeah, Jeff, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Jeff, can you hear me?
Hello?
All right, I think I lost him. We'll try and see if we can reconnect him. But yeah, Stan, you can also talk about any of them.
Okay, so burnout. Burnout, some of the symptoms of burnout has to be with disengagement. There's this emptiness. I think I mentioned depersonalization earlier, where you are seeing a disparity between yourself and your body. So you're looking at yourself and it's like you are stepping outside yourself and you're looking at yourself and you're seeing someone you can't relate to. There's also the tendency of being emotionally withdrawn, especially at work. So you may be the fun type at work, cracking jokes and all those things, but it gets to a point when burnout is setting in, or for you to know you are entering burnout, you realize that energy to even make the jokes is not coming again. So you would rather want to be in your zone and then keep it like that. So there is also blunted emotions. So you may begin to be overly expressive and say things you're not supposed to say sometimes. Yep. And then there is also the part that is the scary part, which is you are very fatigued, but you are not relieved from rest. You sleep, you wake up, but you are still fatigued. That is also a sign of burnout. And then that should have a bearing on the work setting, because when you are entering depression, the rest you get when you are tired from depression and you sleep, it's not able to it won't do anything to the depression. It may help in burnout. Maybe you are extremely fatigued, so when you have a prolonged sleep, there's something I say, we can't cheat nature. So if you are having if you're having the episode and then you realize that now this is getting too tiring, too exhausting, and you need to have some rest, yes, go ahead and sleep. If you don't get enough rest, burnout will continue to persist. But if you're able to maybe take a vacation, a brief pause from all the work hassles, you realize that you recover from burnout. But that might not help or help depression in any way. So the work environment plus a reform helps the individual recover better when it comes to the burnout. So work noticing that I can cause burnout, and then they put in reforms to, like Jeffrey saying, all the things Jeffrey has said. If an organization is listening and they want to put 1 or 2 steps in the right direction, burnout is going to greatly improve. Or it is going to decrease, actually. It is going to decrease, and people are going to have enough mental space to function. All right. So these are some of the things for burnout.
Okay, so maybe let me finally, I think our time is almost up, so let's just wrap up now. But so what are some practical steps that young people or young professionals who currently feel pressure to succeed at all costs should begin to do, or what should they stop doing immediately? Now, I think Jeffrey mentioned the evaluation as one of them. You also spoke about understanding the doctrine of process. What are other things? Is it like boundaries? What are some of the things that they should do?
I think there's role conflict in this equation as well.
What?
Role conflict. So role conflict is just the experience of competing incompatible demands from 2 or more roles that an individual occupies spontaneously. So that is not far from what we have said earlier. So I am a young professional. That is who I am currently. I am not yet a breadwinner. So let's draw the line. Let's get it straight.
Okay.
I know I may have demands. You see, so some of these things comes back to communication. I think we had a conversation on communication some time back, and that was one thing that I appreciated a lot, because everything in this life comes down to communication. If a young professional can be frank with family and tell family that, you know what, I may be able to help, but give me 6 months. Now, mind you, before I got a job opening or the opportunity, we were managing. We may not be there yet, but we were managing. So now that I have gotten the job, I will be in a better place to help after 6 months. Else, I would lose my job. So that role conflict has to be clarified. The person has to get family to understand that, you know what, give me some time. Let me just build myself up. In the Ghanaian context, this is not something that the family takes lightly. So you need to push your point. So the absence of an intervention to curtail the role conflict is what leads to overachievement. So you realize that if you are not settling this role conflict, which is the smaller issue, you compromise your mental health and your work life can go down the drain. So I think we should focus on the role conflict, defining the rules, getting family to know that, we know we have a duty to family. And if you can even extend this to the workplace, right, you can have frank conversations. I encourage that a lot. Talk to your HR. HR, please, we feel like these quotas you are setting, they are good for the advancement of the company, but they are also detrimental to our mental health. Now, which would you rather have? Having healthy people to work for you every day, or having people trying to meet quotas and break down across the somewhere across the line? Yeah, it really doesn't help. There's one thing that I picked up from my cousin. He says, it is better to live and fight another day than to die trying. I don't think this notion is in the heads of the corporate entities a lot. But I feel like if they can slow down a lot and prioritize mental health, it will go a long way to help them better than it's helping their people.
Right.
So they are going to have a holistic development. They are building their people up, and they are getting their quotas as well. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Stan, thank you. Let me hear from Jeffrey as well. Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, good to have you back. So I would want you to, Stan just spoke to young professionals, and he says that they should be able to define their roles. You are speaking about evaluating their ambition so that you know that you are within limits or not, and all of that. Is there any other thing you'd want to, maybe you should, okay, Stan spoke to employers already, so I don't want to limit it to that. But feel free to add your voice to that. If there's any young professional listening to us, what should they do or what should they stop doing?
Yeah, I believe I'll tell them to redefine what enough is. Setting boundaries. When you decide to rest, when you decide to go for a walk, when you decide to have a small talk with somebody after work, just tell the person about how your day went. You might think it's just something not realistic. You might think it's a time waster, but in actual sense, these are things you can put in place for yourself, that can allow you a breathing space for you to offload any baggage you choose from work, so it does not become a mental weight sitting or a mental burden sitting somewhere occupying space that you're supposed to use to do other things. So, set some boundaries, go for a walk, talk to somebody. It is not laziness. It is prioritizing your mental health, and that in itself is an ambition. So to young people out there, go for that walk. Have that off the office hours, have the communication with that one friend you want to gossip with. Just gossip about your work. Don't go. Let me draw this line. Don't go exposing secrets about your organization to those people. Just tell them about how your day went, and what the things you are currently dealing with. Just talk about these things. They might not have an answer for you, but they will help you in offloading that burden.
Right.
They will help you. And most importantly, just redefine what you are calling enough. Because ambition is saying, I want more. Mental health is saying that, hey, that more can kill you. Put some brakes on it. So how do you define enough? Because you'll keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And you don't want a crash and, it is not a crash and break course. No. So define what the enough is for you. And once you're able to define that enough, you do certain things, about 3, 4, 5 things in a day, you're good to go. Your to-do list is a major enough for the day itinerary. Young people in this generation do not prioritize a to-do list. They should prioritize that because it helps put a brake on that ambition or that over-ambition that can kill you.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jeff. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. I think we've spoken about a lot of things, and there's so much value that we've put out there. Hopefully some people pick it and they are able to apply it to their lives. But Stan, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Jeff as well. Yeah. So Jeffrey Boachi is an organizational psychologist. He joined us over the phone lines, and Stanislaus Nyaku is a mental health advocate, and he also joined us in studio for this all-important conversation. So at the end of the day, what we are saying is that, yes, ambition is good, but make sure that you are measured in those ambitions. So don't, shortchange your well-being for that ambition. Yes, make sure that you are working alongside both of them. Take care of your mental health as well. And this month is Men's Mental Health Month, right? We'll have a conversation on that next week, God willing. All right, so thank you very much for staying with us right here on the Business Breakfast on Zed 101.9 FM. This is how we wrap up. We're back again tomorrow for some more interesting conversations. Until then, please take care of yourself. And when you think Ghana, think Zed. My name is Ni Trebi Hammond. Up next is The Brighter Side with Jeremy Okoria Marco.